Hello, everyone. This is Dr. T, and I've been thinking about the question, what is the greatest problem afflicting 21st century students? Now, of course, many of you know that I teach both at graduate and undergraduate level courses. I teach younger folks, I teach middle-aged folks, and I teach senior citizens. And I think that the greatest problem all three segments of people face is what we might call information overload. We have become so dependent on technology and the efficiency brought about by technology that things get lost in the noise. I was thinking about this the other day. I love using Google Calendar, for instance. But it's not the same as having a paper calendar with everything in front of me at one time. Now, I know you can use a larger screen and all those kind of things, but what happens, and I've seen this time and time again, is that students lose points on assignments because they've simply overlooked certain requirements. They didn't check an announcement. They didn't read this. They didn't read that. Well, it's not because or they didn't read the rubric carefully enough, or they didn't when I gave them feedback on a paper, they didn't respond, or they didn't make course corrections. It's not because they don't want to do well on exams. It's generally not because they're rebellious and have a problem with me. It's simply they have so much information they're trying to process at one time that they become overwhelmed. And stuff falls through the cracks. So how do we fix that? That's the big $64,000 question. I think it's important, if you're a student at any level, in any school, to have what I would call a weekly review. And in a weekly review, let's pretend that your class work starts on Monday. On Sunday, let's say sometime, you sit down and you go through all of the information that you'll be working on for that week. You can start with the syllabus. If you're an online student, look at your course management system for the upcoming week. Take a look at all the deliverables. Also look ahead when you're doing the weekly review. It never hurts to look ahead a few weeks to make sure there's something out there, you're not missing anything that's coming up. That's why I always like to scan the syllabus first to make sure that if I've got a paper in 4 weeks, I need to remember that so that I can get started on it and not wait to the last second. But systematically go through and look at every assignment, look at every what I'm going to call deliverable. Usually, like in an online environment, for instance, you're going to have certain readings or discussions you have to participate in. There might be a paper, a quiz, an exam, something like that. And what you have to be able to do is you have to be able to make sure you don't miss any of that. And the only way to do that is to simply start in a very systematic way of saying, okay, this is what I have to do. This is when I need to do it. And then create a to-do list. It can be electronic or it can be on paper that will allow you to make sure that on Wednesday you prepare for the discussion on Friday. And that may mean read chapter so-and-so, read chapter 8 on Tuesday, and then write discussion on Wednesday, post response on Friday. Whatever it is, however it looks for you, you need to do that. Because what I'm seeing more than not is people could score such higher grades, so their points could be so much better, their performance so much better, if they simply did not get overwhelmed at all the information. And you know the cliche, how do you eat an elephant? A bite at a time. So I want to encourage you to do a weekly review. Every week, sit down, look at what you have coming up, and then look a little bit further ahead to see what may be coming up, and then break it down into small, manageable steps, and then take care of business. Sometimes in the online environment, it gets marketed as, oh, you can study. You see these pictures and these commercials where people are studying at the beach and they've got their feet propped up. They leave you with the impression you don't have to do any work. Well, that's just not true. Matter of fact, I would argue in an online environment, you probably have to work more because you have to take a greater responsibility of your learning because you're not sitting in a classroom talking to a professor. So what I would say is make sure you schedule out time, and it needs to be important. Another marketing ploy we see a lot is that, for the busy parent, they can do this and get their degree. Well, sometimes, your family's going to be more pressing and you won't be able to get your work done. So you need to make sure that before you make a commitment, like higher education, that you're ready, you're up for the task. In other words, you're going to spend the time it takes to get things done appropriately and to a level that would please you. But I hope that if you can put together a weekly review where you look at everything you have coming that you need to read and learn, take good notes, learn what your deliverables are so that you can deliver them accurately and early if possible. And then just make sure that you have the time in your schedule. Create time, use a to-do list, use your calendar. Your degree is one of the best things that you'll ever achieve, but it's got to be important to you. If it's not important, if there are other competing allegiances, then you need to really evaluate, do you really want a degree? Because an online degree is not a diploma mill. It's a real thing, and it can serve you very well, but you have to put the work into it. A professor used to tell me you get out of it what you put into it, and I think that's a true statement. Well, I hope this has been helpful. So remember, weekly review to start your week off so nothing falls behind. You fall behind on anything, because being overwhelmed with information is what will happen if you don't get organized. If you have any questions, please let me know. God bless. We'll talk again soon.